Blessings, BookTube. I've been doing a few videos about guidebooks that I found for next to nothing at hostels and cafes and book exchanges. Um, and among those books is a book that turned out to be not a guidebook after all, called Shanghai, Electric and Lurid City by Barbara Baker, which is actually an anthology selected and edited by Barbara Baker of all kinds of great little tidbits. Let me take you through the chapter contents. So we've got part one, which is swampland to commercial port. Here we have the ancient writings about the kingdom of Wu, which is where Shanghai was, in the kingdom of Wu on the coast. Suzhou, where I used to live, was also in the kingdom of Wu, which is why they spoke Wu Yu. So while I was trying to learn Mandarin, everyone around me was actually speaking a different dialect. It also has something about restraining pirates. Huey G. dismissed from office. Voyage of Lord Amherst. Okay. Next, we have part two, international influence. So this goes from 1843 to 1910. The previous one went from 700 BC to AD 1842. So now we're going to go right up to the beginning of the 1900s. Here we have writings by Lyndon Strachey, Conduct Unbecoming, Disenchanting View, Rickshaw, Coolies and Boys, Abduction in Blood Alley, something by Eileen Chang. And part three, now Ideals, Conflict, and Corruption, 1911 and 1927. Here we've got, start trying to get stuff about the Green Gang, the Communists. What else have we got in here? This section's a little drier, to be honest with you. Okay, visiting missionaries. We've got the missionaries in here. So part four is the Paris of the East, 1928 to 1936. I think this is probably the romantic Shanghai that you think of might be from this era. And here we got stuff on prostitution and the Shanghai Express. But there's different things in here. There's a Jewish childhood, the Cathay Hotel. There's poems by Lu Xun. There's Midnight by Mao Dun, which is a novel. Part five is the occupation of war years. They were occupied by Japan. Nanjing, sort of the rape of Nanking, is, I believe, just out of Wu, the kingdom of Wu, or maybe it was, it means southern kingdom, but that was from much later. I can't remember if it's on Wu or right at the edge of Wu, just to the west. But yeah, so the Japanese occupied them. Here we have J.G. Ballard, Empire of the Sun. This was made into a wonderful movie that you might have seen. Part six is The Sway of Communism, 49 to 76. And here we have, there was another movie one. Where was it? Oh, that was in the previous one, in the Paris of the East. Joseph von Sternberg, the great movie maker, has a section in there as well. So now, The Sway of Communism, we've got Life and Death in Shanghai, Wine, Women, and Song. And then the last section, part 7, Fading Nostalgia, New Hope, has all kinds of good stuff in it, amongst which the great travel writers. So we got Paul Theroux in here. We love Paul Theroux because he was a Peace Corps volunteer like me. Colin Thornbun, one of my favorite travel writers, is in here. The Chemist, Frogs for Supper. So I was going to read you those, but I was going to save that because I'm going to do a video on travel writers. And I really wanted to read you, there's so many things I wanted to read you. The Eileen Chang, The Midnight by Mao Dun. But I really decided I wanted to read you the earliest ones. So I'm going to read Shi Shi and Another King of Wu, and Hai Jui, Dismissed from Office, which is an opera play. So let's start with Shisha. Shisha and the King of Wu. During the spring and autumn periods, scattered among the lower reaches of the Yellow River were many states, one of which was Yu. At a place called Ningluo in Yu lived this beautiful Shisha, said to be the daughter of a woodcutter. Now the spring and autumn period was a time of great strife. And when the king of Yu died, the neighboring state of Wu launched an unsuccessful attack on Yu. 3 years later, the king of Wu, Fu Chai, launched another attack on Yu and routed the Yu troops. To save his country from annihilation, Gu Jian, the king of Yu, had no choice but to surrender, and he brought his wife and Fan Li, a loyal official, to serve Fu Chai. When Fu Chai fell ill, Gu Jian waited on him hand and foot. He suffered the humiliation of being a slave without complaint, as though resigned to his fate. Finally, Fu Chai decided to let Gu Jian go home. Oh, beware changing from tyranny to sympathy too quickly, if you wish to survive. On his return to Yu, Gu Jian began plotting revenge on Wu. Surprise, surprise. He realized that to defeat Wu, he had to strengthen his country and build up his army. To set a good example to his subjects, Gu Jian led a simple life and tilled the fields himself. At the same time, he often visited the people to encourage them and to strengthen their resolve for revenge. To stay in Fu Chai's good books, Gu Jian also sent regular tributes to Wu. With the assistance of Fan Li, Gu Jian stepped up the training of his troops. The country gradually recovered from the effects of war. Worried that a comfortable life might erode his resolve to take revenge, Gu Jian slept on brushwood and tasted bitter gall every day to remind himself of the humiliation he had suffered when his country was defeated. Fan Li suggested that Gu Jian send a beauty to distract Fu Chai's attention from state affairs. Fan Li immediately thought of Shisha. She had become an orphan at the age of 13 and had been brought up by Fan Li and his wife. He told her his plan, but after listening to him, tears rolled down Shisha's cheeks. She had fallen in love with Fan Li after his wife had died. Fan Li was so touched that he held Shisha's hands and said, "As soon as the state of Wu falls, I'll bring you back. No matter how long I have to wait, be it 10 or 20 years, I'll only marry you." Shisha finally agreed to the plan, and in the middle of the night, with tears again in her eyes, Fan Li and Shisha vowed to meet again. The moment Fu Chai set eyes on Shisha, he was captivated by her extraordinary charm. He became so besotted with Shisha that he spent all his time with her, drinking wine and making merry, and he had a palace built especially for her. Though Shisha was in Wu, she was filled with thoughts of Fan Li in Yu. 3 years passed, and though Shisha still did not receive any news from Yu, she behaved as if there was nothing amiss. Meanwhile, Yu strengthened its forces. Some officials tried to warn Fu Chai, but he ignored their advice. One day, on learning that a Yu envoy had been granted an audience with Fu Chai, Shisha joyfully accompanied Fu Chai to meet him. She was very grieved when she saw that Fan Li had not come. Unaware of Shisha's feelings, Fu Chai went to great lengths to please her. Seeing this, Wu Zhishu, who had served Fu Chai's father, cautioned him against being enticed by Shisha's beauty. Fu Chai was so angry he threw the imperial sword to Wu Zhishu, indicating that he should take his own life. Remember this moment, we're going to discuss this later. Wu Zhishu looked at the sword and laughed sardonically, saying, "The state of Wu is in grave danger. After my death, gouge out my eyes and place them on the city gate. I want to watch the Yu troops march into the city. 10 years later, Yu made a sudden attack on Wu in the middle of the night. Caught completely unawares, Wu was forced to fight a hasty battle. Cornered, the Wu troops put up a desperate fight. Fu Chai ordered his troops to fight to the death. Using the strategy of projected warfare, the Yu army encircled Gusu City for 2 years. Running out of ammunition and food, Wu finally fell. Trapped in Gusu town, Fu Chai sighed deeply and killed himself. After destroying Wu, Gujian, the king of Yu, became the last powerful chief of the spring and autumn period. Some people claim that they found Fan Li's and Shishu's clothes and shoes by the Lake Tai. This refers to a whole other story. Others said that Fan Li and Shishu did not commit suicide, but concealed their identities and led a wandering life. So there we go. So is she the first? What does the introduction say? From the great beauties of China, it claims that Shishu was the first international female spy recorded in China's written history. I think she was more of a distraction than a spy, but leave that up to you. Then we got restraining pirates, and now this little bit of theater, opera for you. It's from Act 4 of, what's the title of this anyway? There's a little bit from Act 4, and then there's from Act 9. So here's the bit from Act 4. Hai Jui dismissed from office. I must strengthen law and order. Hai Jui says, I must strengthen law and order and redress grievances for the masses. The people have suffered more than they can bear because the Shui Quan are cruel and lawless. To kill the dragons and tigers is a man's duty, and I need no monument to serve my country. I am Hai Ju, governor of Yutian. Since I took office, I have learned that the Shui Quan and the rich people here are despotic and lawless. The officials are corrupt and oppressive. Positive criminal evidence has been found concerning all those involved. The law clearly prescribes that all evil men must be got rid of. In today's court trial, I definitely must uphold this ideal, to wipe out the blot of evil, to protect the people. You heartless creatures, so corrupt and filthy, you've soiled your official robes with infamy. Heavy is the mountain, the law cannot be lenient. To punish you for crimes, I will not relent. I will now pass sentence upon you. Sui Ying abducted a young girl by the name of Chao Xiaoduan and brutally beat her grandfather, Chao Yushuang. Furthermore, he bribed the Huating magistrate who, relying on false testimony, beat Chao Yushuang to death. Sui Ying will be hanged in accordance with the law. Of his property, the portion which he seized from other people shall be returned to its lawful orders. The rest shall be confiscated. Chao Shuaolian must be released and reunited with her mother. Wang Mingyu broke the law by accepting a bribe and flogging the plaintiff to death. His head shall be chopped off. Li Pingchu, nicknamed Grafter, accepted bribes and broke the law. He shall be dismissed from office and imprisoned while waiting final decision from the imperial court. Xiufu, pretended to be a county school student, delivered bribes and gave false testimony. By considering the fact that he was forced to do these things, and since he was confessed everything, he deserved leniency. Therefore, he shall receive 100 floggings and 3 years imprisonment. The coroner accepted a bribe and made false testimony, shall be dismissed from duty and shall receive 100 floggings and 2 years imprisonment. My lords, are the sentences fair? Your Highness is doing all, Chuang Wu says, Your Highness is doing all this to eliminate public evils, which deserves all my respect and admiration. Sui Ying kowtows, Governor, my great lord, please consider my father's humble name and spare my life. Hai Ju, say no more. If a prince breaks the law, he shall be punished just like a common man. Take them away. We could discuss a lot of things from this, from the tribute system to the bureaucracy here, to the mandate of heaven. Um, but I want to discuss something else. So pay attention to those sentences there. Now, in Act 9, we've got Tai Feng Xiang says, entrusted by heaven to carry out its will, the emperor decrees as follows. Hai Ju, governor of Yuetuang, is to be dismissed from office and sent back to farming at his native home. Tai Feng Xiang is therefore appointed governor of Yingwen. All must obey. Hai Ju, long live the emperor. May I ask the emperor's personal emissary what offense Hai Ju has committed to be so dismissed from office and sent back to his native land? Don't be confused by him referring to himself in the third person there. Tai Feng Shuang, court officials have impeached you for having acted like a wolf toward the common people and having treated the Huaqian as if they were fish and meat at your dinner table. Good Lord. The Shuyaquan are violent and cruel. This is Haiju, sorry. The Shuitang are violent and cruel. They are greedier than hungry wolves. The people are all poverty stricken because harvest brings them no grain. The story that I oppressed the Shuyaquan is like dream talk, wild and unrestrained. To dismiss me on the basis of this fantastic tale is indeed unfairness, injustice, and foul play. And now we've got a choir. Heaven and earth are freezing, and the piercing wind is howling. The thought of Haiju's departure has plucked 10,000 heartstrings. As the elder may return home, there's no way to detain him. So every household has incense lit and hangs up his portrait for worship. So what I want to talk about here is all of these executions and high state suicides. If I were going to discuss this in the mode of current book or YouTube, I guess I would say, something like early Chinese was metal, especially when we get these lines about plucking out my eyes, put them on the wall so I can see you fail. And the number of these floggings, 100 floggings, is like the light sentence. Gee, if you know flogging. Yeah, it's metal, but I really want to discuss this idea of like the cheapness of life, something to the effect of like, there are so many Chinese people, and this is why there's a sort of life is cheapened, right? So just like, what's one death or another? And I'm not sure that that's really, I'm pretty sure that that's not really the case. Every life is, a human life. Their human life is not that different from our human life, though they be Chinese and we be, Western, or they be living hundreds of years ago and we be living today. We cling to our life. But I do think maybe there is something in Chinese religion and philosophy. Certainly I can speak to Buddhism to say that one might hold one's own life a little more lightly, especially when you get these ideas of like your suicide, ennobling you. So like when the king hands you a sword and says, do away with yourself, and this killing yourself sort of expiates your sin or, ennobles you somehow. And in Confucian thought, again, that is about duty. So there's a sort of seeing yourself as part of a chain of father to son to father. So there's not just your individual life, but there's sort of the family life. I don't know. This is very speculative. I'm way out of my depth here, but I have a feeling that there's something more to do with the religion, helping them deal with these executions and suicides. That is gives the lie to this idea that sort of life is cheap in China, or indeed in history, or wherever we generalize that to. This life is life, I think. So there you go. That's what I picked out of these little readings. So a really fun book. Some of them were dry, for sure. There are a few reports in there about sanitation, but you can tell by the titles that a lot of them were quite fun. Each of them is about 2-3 pages long, so quite short. It's a great book. If you can find it, I have no idea like I found it very, very randomly. And Shanghai is a fun and very, very interesting city. You should visit there if you get the chance.